I believe there is no point in complicating things in businesses, right? You can fix many things by mainly focusing on the fundamentals.
Looking at 2023, despite the inflation crisis and all this stuff that we're talking about in e-commerce, you have year-on-year growth of 30%, if I'm not mistaken. What's the secret?
People call supply chain, I say value chain, right? Yeah. Because we are really adding value in the businesses.
Consumer behavior is changing, we know that by now. But how about omni-channel?
Customer is king, cash is queen. You have to ensure that you make king and queen both happy, not just one part, right?
Hello and welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Germany News Podcast. My name is Efe von Thenen and I'm your host today. Today we have a very exciting guest from Flaconi, Radharaman Jha. He's VP Supply Chain at Flaconi and works there since 1.5 years. Many of you have heard about Flaconi's success in Germany and wider Europe as one of the biggest beauty retailers. So let's find out what's behind this success. Rod, very nice to have you as part of the show. Welcome to our e-commerce dungeon. So yeah, please introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me. So I'm Rad. I have joined Flaconi 1.5 years ago. New to Germany, but really exciting so far.
You're from India, right?
I'm from India, yeah.
Okay.
So before joining Flaconi, I have worked over a decade in the Middle East segment, mainly in Dubai. So I have worked with 3-4 big groups. We were, managing most of the franchise businesses like IKEA, Marks and Spencer, Toys R Us, Lacoste, Swarovski, Sephora. Yeah. So having my role across the India.
I also read that you're an angel investor since not so long ago.
Yes. So thanks for noticing that. So I truly believe that
you're like finally someone knows.
So I truly believe that we need more job creator than job seeker globally, right? And more so in Asia and in the Middle East segment.
Okay.
And I have got in touch with many, great founders, and I have done my bit of investment and also, coaching as an advisor in those different segments.
Okay.
My, area of interest in those segments have been primarily around tech savvy, D2C brand, and also, some kind of technology-driven, innovative,
data-driven
brand.
Yeah. And part of your following, I assume, is from the Middle East region?
Middle East, Asia mainly.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Now building in Germany.
Yeah, very interesting. And we hope to contribute to your success in Germany, maybe expanding that following. Very nice to have you. And I'd suggest we get started with your experience with Flaconi. Flaconi being one of the most successful beauty retailers in Germany and wider Europe. We'll touch upon quite a lot of topics with your company, but first and foremost, we see that you as VP of supply chain, you've done a lot in terms of supply chain management, inventory management. You've had your magic recipe, so to speak. I want to hear a little bit about how the last 1.5 years have been for you at Flaconi and what you managed to change within this short amount of time.
So last 1.5 years have been a roller coaster journey for me to lead supply chain and think about what we can do to turn around the entire business as such.
Yeah.
So I believe there is no point in complicating things in businesses, right? You can fix many things by mainly focusing on the fundamentals. So when I joined, my focus had been main to first diagnose the fundamental issue, and I personally believe that once you diagnose the problem, right, half thing is done, because then that where are the roadblocks, where are the real issue in that. And I found that we have a lot of opportunity in this entire supply chain. Again, people call supply chain, I say value chain, right? Yeah. Because we are really adding value in the businesses. So I found that, just to give you some number for your audience, we have 1,000+ brand on our website, right?
Yeah.
Imagine dealing with this.
They're international also,
yes,
right?
Yes,
yeah.
Most of them are international, right? Yeah. So we have to manage this vast variety of supplier base, right? And it's very, very important that we understand their pain point. We build that collaboration with them, because you are getting stock from them, you are getting your product from them, right? If they are facing certain issue, and if you are not really equipped to handle that, then no matter how sophisticated your value chain is or supply chain is, you will not get the product, right?
Absolutely.
So my first part was build that collaborative planning with them.
Yeah.
Understand their pain point, understand that their challenges, find some mutual ground of solution that really help us in fixing first part of the supply chain.
Yeah.
Once you fix that, the other segment is customer demand. As you know, we are really living in an era where customer demand fluctuates a lot.
Yeah.
And primarily so in the beauty segment, because most of these beauty consumers are Gen Z millennials, right? And also this will grow further, which means that they have less of a patience. So it is not the case that if they don't find product on your website, they will not go
expect
anywhere else and they will buy that, right?
Yeah.
So predicting this demand has been one of the other aspects.
How do you do that? How do you predict?
So we use
demand?
lot of data analytics. We use lot of deep AI ML model to really understand and build this kind of forecasting system.
Okay.
And over the last 1.5 years, we have really been successful in cracking that down.
Okay.
And that have really helped us in securing and understanding the customer demand.
Would you say you put your flag on this topic pretty much?
Yes. So I mean, if you see, like, if you fix supply, if you fix demand, more or less you fix half of the chain. And then you have to really ensure that you use all, because see, in the e-commerce journey, or in any beauty or fashion journey, unlike in the store, you don't have many information about how customer are behaving.
Yeah.
You don't know whether customer came, touched the product, saw the price, and walked away.
Interesting you say that, because talking to many industry experts, they always say in the store you don't know that much, because especially if it's a big store, like you can pretty much understand how many people come in, and there have been ways to also analyze what they're doing, what they're picking up, but it's much of a less magnitude than what you can do and track within the e-commerce industry.
And I think it's important that once you have this information, data, right, you use that in your favor.
Yeah.
And I see not many e-commerce players are really leveraging or using that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, those who have really used that, cracked that, are really successful. Look at Amazon, right? What they do, right? Their key focus is two things: supply chain and data, right? They use that data to really understand the customer pain point, customer journey, everything, and then come up with a better offering for customer. That's what we do.
Everyone is talking about AI, machine learning. There's been a huge disruption with these large language models since 2020 with GPT up until 4. I mean, you mentioned that you're tapping into machine learning, and could you elaborate a little bit on that? Like what kind of, how do you tap into AI-based tools?
Yeah, I mean, I very jokingly said that in our personal life, we are not happy with ChatGPT 3, and now we are moving to ChatGPT 4 or maybe ChatGPT 5 and so on. But when it comes to professional life, we are still using Excel. I'm not saying Excel is a bad thing. It's a most powerful tool by Microsoft. But still, we are not really adopting the same level of technology innovation the way we do in our personal life.
Okay.
And I truly believe if if industries start adopting at the same pace as they do in their personal life, it would really revolutionize.
I mean, you see examples from Microsoft and other companies that they have these embedded experiences with copilots.
Yes.
They analyze your data, and then they make they don't spit out like very generic, useless stuff for you, but they really give you tailor-fit content or data. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, talking about AI. So I think demand forecasting, customer demand forecasting, is one of those segments where this would really make a huge difference. And we have to understand, right? Everything starts from customer and ends at customer, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important that you understand the start and end point of what is the real demand, right?
Absolutely.
And I believe that's where this AI would really play a very important role. I mean, it is playing already, right? For example, we use many techniques which are really machine learning technique in our forecasting, and we see that differences, right? When we have normal forecasting versus this kind of technical part, it really helps us. It is little difficult, but of course, no pain, no gain, right? So you have to go that extra mile to really, find something new for your customer, and then only you'll be able to make some real difference in the organization.
And in terms of product assortment, I mean, variety is also key for many. You were mentioning that many customers, if they don't find what they want, or they have different needs, or you mentioned millennials, there's Generation Z looking for purpose. So I mean, you have different target groups expecting different types of things, and how do you provide that variety? Like, how do you hit the right notes, right note without having a cacophony, so to speak?
Yeah, so on that point, look, as I said, as a e-commerce, so I mean, we believe that there is a huge potential in beauty e-commerce segment in German market, and I mean, not just in German, but as such in Europe as such.
Yeah.
If you see that German market is close to around 18.5 to 19 billion of beauty market cap, and I truly believe that we are not really competing with a competitor, but we are really competing with the time. Right, so it's very, very important that, and it's very important to understand that what customer need, and then come up with that. So we have we do market research. We have many touch point of customer, how they react on our website. We collect all those information. We try to extract the real insight about customer journey. Understand what kind of brand customer are really looking out. Are they really price conscious, or are they brand conscious? If they are brand conscious, are they looking for different kind of brand segment, value, niche, so we have all kind of information to really understand what kind of brand we should really target. That's one. Second, we do market research to understand that where world is evolving in the beauty segment, and of course we also do competition benchmarking to come up with what customer need. So
who are your competitors? I mean, in Germany and also wider Europe, do you have also companies that are outside of Germany tapping into and kind of like is present as a strong competitor?
I mean, based on the public domain information, right? Douglas, Sephora, these are biggest player.
Yeah.
But again, most of them have been focusing on the retail and the omni-channel, right?
Yeah.
And as I said, I personally believe that beauty. So if you look at the beauty online to offline, contribution, right? In Germany, it is somewhere around 39% online, and remaining offline, which is much higher than any other segment.
Yeah.
Which also proves that people are, at least in the beauty segment, are more enthused towards the online channel, right?
Interesting.
And I think that's where we can really play a very important role. We are having a great ambition to really build content so that customer can be more engaged on our website and feel belongingness to this entire customer journey, and not just about buying a product and doing that. So I think that would really help us in pushing further.
Talking about omni-channel, one of the greatest examples, I mean, before Corona, we were seeing these concept stores from big brands, right? Adidas and Bonprix in Hamburg and some others, where they you come into the store, you can interact with products with your cell phone, and they were really going towards this automation and working with data within the in-store experience. And now we are seeing kind of a different trend that kind of these companies, Bonprix closed the store in Hamburg, and I don't know about the Adidas store in London, but I have the feeling that it was like a slowdown in terms of really pushing for this in-store, obsessive in-store cell phone interaction experience. Based on the fact that we had to sit at home for 1.5 years, and then there was this inflation crisis and all this stuff. So maybe we're not even shopping that much. Consumer demand is kind of slowing down. All that being said, and you guys are kind of, how do you mentioned pricing. What's your pricing strategy to reach out to your customers and make sure that this is a fitting price that at the level of demand they have?
I think we have to understand that customer is changing, right, every day.
Yeah.
And customer is not just price conscious, but customer is looking for best price of best price of a product. So, many a time people talk about, having the lowest price, but I personally believe that customer is not really thinking about lowest price. Customer is thinking about right product, right? If you have right product at right price in right quantity for a customer, that's the true success story, from the pricing perspective. Of course, we do take into account our, competition pricing and all that. But for us, the main criteria is that customers should get the product they are asking for anytime at the best price possible, right? And that best price is always, kind of in line with how competition is reacting as well.
You also touched a little bit upon like your success. Looking at the financial situation in 2021, we did some homework, and your growth has been 2021. The growth was around 14% in terms of revenue, and looking at 2023, despite the inflation crisis and all this stuff that we're talking about in e-commerce, you have year-on-year growth of 30%, if I'm not mistaken. And what's the secret?
Yes, I mean, so our quarter one growth have been 30% close to, which is available in the public domain as well. So as I said, right, we change our strategy as we change our strategy towards pure play beauty e-commerce player in the region. Right, we are sharp focused that we want to be the pure play leading beauty player in the region. And when it comes to beauty player, then we have to always ensure that we provide right content to customer, right product to customer. We have right stock level, right? And if you don't, as I said, no matter how fancy your website is, if you don't have product, everything is useless. Right. And as I said, right, we started understanding this stock level, right? Many of these e-commerce player or beauty player have failed to secure good stock level from supplier, but we really succeeded in that, right?
This focus on pure play is important.
Yes. And see, once you are focused that this is what you want to do, then you are really not distracted from multiple kind of influences, right? So we are saying that we want to be a pure play beauty e-commerce player. We will do everything that required to meet that goal. Right, we change our strategy. Right, you'll be surprised to know that during last Black Friday, we were number 1 in beauty e-commerce in the entire, I believe, European region as well. Right,
in the entire European region. Wow.
Right, and I mean, if you look at the Germany, we were number 1, and from Europe we might be number 2 or number 3. Right. I mean, that was only possible because of two things: A, right stock. B, ensuring that our customer, we really understand customer need, and C, offering them the best price possible. Right. And see, as you rightly mentioned that post COVID, right, as a consumer, we are still not used to go back to stores and doing that. We often, right, and this is a survey that usually 60 to 70% customer first check price online before buying from store.
I mean, it ties back to your point of like people are looking for the right product, but they also want the right product at a certain price. And I mean, according to some studies, over almost 80% of all consumers are even comparing prices in the store. In case like with the feeling that, okay, I'm making the right decision. You know what I mean? Especially looking at the data from last Black Friday, and you see these coupon websites like booming, people really want to tap into best deals that they can have at that time. So interesting that you mentioned about your success there.
Going back to just add one point about that. We also, I mean, it's very important to understand that your customer is king, no doubt, right? So you put customer at the heart, and that's what we did as a part of our new strategy. But at the same time, it's also important to understand that cash is queen. You have to have enough liquidity, cash in your business so that you are able to adapt to all these volatile environment changes. If you put your entire money into stock and everything, right, and if that stock doesn't sell, then and you will die. They're having many businesses which could not survive because of cash crunch globally during COVID time and post COVID time as well. So I always say that customer is king, cash is queen. You have to ensure that you make king and queen both happy, not just one part, right?
I like that one. Yeah, I like it very much. Yeah, so we'll make sure to put that on social media for you. Yeah, Rod. So I mean, all that sounds good, but you mentioning pure play. Are you guys then the Netflix of beauty industry, or
we aspire to be? We aspire to be. Yeah.
Yeah, because what made Netflix also very powerful and successful is their obsession about supply chain, and like they managed to be the biggest inventory of DVDs in America, right? So this was their thing, and in this way they were more powerful than any local store with limited inventory capability. And then along the way they optimized the speed of delivery, and then the biggest, they tried a lot of things like putting flyers in Sony DVD players and stuff like Panasonic and stuff like that. But what did the trick was their marquee tool, whereby you have like a queue of DVDs, and it like is when you consume one, and the other one is automatically added to the queue. So like, they found what really works for their customers. You know what I mean? So I always find it's an inspiring story.
Yeah, true. And you said about speed, right? Our CEO says that we are, our two key important pillars are speed and courage.
Yeah.
Right. And as I said, that we are not competing with competition, we are competing with time, right? So we have to be fast enough, we have to be courageous enough to innovate. We might fail at certain time, but it's important to bounce back, right? And I remember one episode where the past CEO of PepsiCo said that we are not competing with Coca-Cola, we are competing with water. Right? So because consumer demand, consumer is changing. The world we see now would be totally different than the world we will see after 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? And the way technology, innovation, all these things are changing, I think that will have a huge value addition to the beauty industry as such.
But I mean, consumer behavior is changing, we know that by now. But how about omni-channel? I mean, it's we've been talking about omni-channel. All the big retailers are talking about omni-channel. The consumer switching from various devices and having a seamless experience. All that sounds great in theory, but where do you think things are right now, and where are we headed in the next few years?
If you ask me personally, I think omni-channel will stay. Like saying that omni-channel will vanish and only this would have, that will be unfair. But I personally believe that there will be a more shift towards digital. At least in fashion and beauty segment, right? If you see the graph of how online channel have acquired the market segment in all this sector, you see a steep growth, right? That gives us an indication that it will, many people said that it is COVID, that's why digital is growing. After COVID everything will fall down, but that's not the true, right? If you look at the number, digital is still booming. And I think
but in a certain way, all these companies that are on the stock market, they did massive employee cuts and everything, and the main message was, hey, we expected the growth to go in the same curve, but that we see that the corona effect is kind of slowing down,
True. It depends from segment to segment, market to market, right? If you look at the LVMH era, right, growth, they are growing in beauty and fashion as well, right? And almost all the big player in consumer retail segment, if you look at their value statement, right, most of them have mission to grow digitally. Right? You take any example, right? Many of them have key focus to have double-digit growth in the digital space. Right? Which means that during COVID, there have been a lot of work in the digital space. Therefore, industry hired like any Tom, Dick, Harry, right? But of course now digital space is stabilized, matured, right? So now you will see a maturity level growth, not a growth of 50, 100% year on year, but you will see a right amount of growth which is sustainable for the businesses.
Yeah, I mean, listening to you, Rod, it sounds like you paid for this podcast, and like you're making a sales pitch because everything you say sounds perfect, And are there also examples where you tried some things, like maybe anecdotes from the last couple of years, where you tried to really push for some topics and some initiatives, and they massively failed? I mean, like also it's inspiring to learn that things can. You said it yourself. Things have failed, and then you get up on your feet. Try again. Fail fast, try again. You know what I mean? So that's also inspiring in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say over the last, over a decade of my experience, I have a couple of learning which I always share with everybody. Number one is resilience is not just a word, right? This is something that we have to live. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. Nobody had predicted Ukraine war. Nobody had predicted COVID, right?
AI could wipe out the humanity or something.
Yeah. So I mean, supply chain is one of the functions which gets impacted first when things goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen that during the Ukraine war.
Yes, and to be honest, apparently as per global consulting firm report, every 3.7 year supply chain goes through 1 or 2 months of disruption. Even without COVID, even without this Ukraine war.
Yeah.
Right? If you take 100 years of, either way, right? And when such disruption happens, usually business loses 20 to 30% on EBITDA level.
Okay.
And this is global benchmark report, right? Which means that if you are from the value chain business, right? Supply chain, value chain, then you have to be aware that you have to be truly agile and resilient, right? When I say agile, I mean not to be speed. You should have ability to adjust your speed based on the environment.
Yeah.
That's the true agility, right?
This dynamism.
Yes, true. Second part is that you have to keep innovating yourself in your process, in your business, in your supply chain, in your demand planning, supply planning, across the entire segment. Because the way technology is evolving, if you don't evolve your business process at the same pace, you will be left behind. And third, most important thing, data is the most important part. Data is something that would really add tenfold value if you really use it in a right manner for your supply chain.
Sounds reasonable for me. And also, like looking at what Flaconi has been doing in the last year and two, you are also expanding to other markets where many other companies are kind of stopping or pausing expansion at this moment, given the conditions. As far as I know, you've expanded to Austria and Poland and France. How's that going?
It's going very well.
Yeah.
I mean, we are really seeing a kind of good turnaround in these businesses. And yes, we have ambitious plan to also go in some new market as well. And I think, as I said, right, a winner is those who find opportunity in, bad situation. We are confident that we will be able to crack new markets as well.
Are there also like cultural nuances that some products are completely like not consumed in a certain market because the consumers are behaving very differently? And could you give us a couple of examples?
Yes. So I mean, see, whenever you go into a new market, you have to understand that same shoe doesn't fit all, right? So you have to really tailor to the customer need. You have to understand what kind of product that market is really keen to buy, right? You have to also understand, their preferences, their, how they want to really react. So whenever we go into a new market, we really do a thorough research, market research, consumer behavior, right? And also understand how this market would behave. So whenever we have this soft launch, we do take a lot of learning, improve those before going into a kind of full-fledged. So I think it's going to be a promising journey, and I'm very, very confident that we will really nail those markets as well.
Can you share us some numbers in terms of like how this expansion is going, or?
So I mean, again, due to confidentiality, I might not be able to share, the exact market, but yes, we are ambitious to at least, go into 2 or 3 new market in next financial year.
I guess you've seen the recent Apple introduction of their new product, the VR and AR based glasses.
Yeah.
So, and we are, I have the feeling that we are kind of in a moment of disruption in terms of really experiencing the first hands-on, like the experience of the future, how things are. I mean, my question to you as an expert, in the future, how are we gonna be buying stuff? Like, just are we all sitting in our living rooms and just with our eyeglasses and not like completely alone, just buying stuff, like experiencing this whole thing in the metaverse, or like how do you see these developments?
I mean, to be honest, personally, I believe that these things will no more imagination. These things would be true in few years of things. But I mean, I hope I'm sure you're aware about the fact that recently L'Oreal have signed a collaboration with Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
So if you're using a Microsoft Team, you could change,
you can have
could
makeup,
choose makeup,
right?
10 to 12 different
I
makeup.
saw that. I was thinking like that's awesome because I mean, I don't put on makeup except for the recordings. I'm kidding. But if you do, and if you're just at home, I mean, it kind of feels absurd just to put on makeup on for 1 hour of a call. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And see, I mean, as I said, right, we could not have imagined this technology 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But now we see that coming reality. And to be honest, there are many startups in Asia who have this kind of feature where, they will take your, face image and they will tell you pigmentation of your face, what kind of
a personalized filter or so.
Personalized filter.
Okay.
And see, I believe personalization is the next way of shopping, right? So,
that kind of scares me though. I mean, like it kind of scares me that it's we're all gonna live this like very far from reality. Like we're all gonna look completely different in the virtual world, and then when you meet someone in real life, I mean, like think of like artificial intelligence is everywhere in our lives anyway since years. So like it determines how we date, how we meet the future wives, or something like that. Like what kind of content we consume, and the way we portray ourselves out there is like changing very much.
Yeah, I mean, again, you are right in a sense, but every technology, every innovation comes with this, shortfall, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we are talking about, how this virtual world might replace the real world. We might not have, same amount of emotional connection, but maybe next generation don't need that. Maybe next generation is not even interested to know about the emotional connection, right? They might enjoy in the virtual world itself, right? So I think time will only tell us that how things move, right? Maybe if you ask our grandfather about buying something online, they'll be like, oh, why you're doing that, right? There was a connection when they were going to a shop having that thing, right? But for now it's a norm.
Yeah.
So I think the world is changing. Change is the only constant in life, and we have to ensure that we adopt it in a sense that we really benefit and not for a wrong reason.
With my guests, I always like to talk about the practical approach of things today. So you've touched upon that a lot, like what you need to pay attention to change your processes, and always be on the lookout for your data, understand your customers. But also at the same time, we like to think about the future, what's coming in a couple of years. Do you have some trends in mind that you think are, especially for your segment, quite relevant, where maybe you can give us 3 trends that you see as relevant for the next years to come?
I mean, if I personally believe that currently consumer are switching between social media to decide what they want to buy, and then go to website to buy. I think these things would merge together.
Yeah.
I believe many e-commerce players, including us, right, we will have more content for consumer to consume related to our beauty segment.
Yeah.
You know, we will see more engagement on our website, right? And this will be applicable to everywhere, right? So we don't, customer would not like to switch between multiple platforms to decide what they want to do, right? So
Yeah.
everything will be at one place. Second part is AR, VR, and AI. I mean, I'm very bullish about AI.
You just dropped 3 buzzwords in one.
Yeah. So see, I mean, I'm personally very bullish about AI. I think AI would revolutionize the world of commerce, right? When I say commerce, might not be just about e-commerce, but entire commerce as a whole. And I think we have to be very, very careful of how we use it. I am also sometimes very skeptical about how these things would be utilized in by next generation, right? We have so many things progressing in AI which are unregulated, right? So these are little concern, but I think the way technology is evolving, I think we will have a lot of new way of doing businesses, across the beauty in this thing. And to be honest, I think beauty will have a huge growth.
We haven't had Elon Musk on the show yet, but you've mentioned one thing that that I find interesting. You in a way, the whole disruption of AI could be also scary for many of us. I mean, recently Apple even prevented the use of the word AI because they did some studies, I believe, that most people perceive this word to be somehow scary. They kept using machine learning as a word. I'm a marketer, so I pay attention to these things. So much so that there has been a study, there has been a survey among AI experts, and whereby 50% of AI experts were saying there's a 10% likelihood that AI might be the reason of the AI could be an existential threat for humanity, right? So it's kind of scary. It's like getting on an airplane where 50% of the engineers are saying, hey, there's a 10% likelihood that this plane might crash. I know when you think like that, it's kind of feels very real. Yeah. So of course, in the tech industry, we always look at the practical approach. We look at how this can be translated to efficiencies, how this can help us understand the data in a much broader way. But yeah, what is your opinion on this?
No, I think you are right in a sense, right? And it's very important that we use this AI, I mean, again, generative AI as such for operational efficiency, right? For example, if you want to type an email, if there is certain generative AI which can help you in writing that email in a much better way, convincing way, I think that's a great use case, right? If you're doing a photo editing, right? If there is certain technology which can do it in 2 minutes.
Have you seen Adobe Firefly?
Yes.
It's insane.
Right? I think we have to look for good use cases of AI, which is really evolving in the current world. I have seen so many different amazing use cases of AI which people are using for their 5 hours of work could be done in 2 minutes, right? Which is great. But again, see, every technology comes with, I mean, when we had social media, right? I mean, 5-6 years ago, right? Yeah. People use it for so many bad reasons, right? But now it got regulated. Now we know the real value.
Just along the way led to the election of Donald Trump.
So I mean, I'm optimistic that government regulator would really take right amount of action. I mean, regulation to ensure that this is used for betterment of humankind, and that 10% of dilemma or skepticism, whatever we have, that would get reduced, and world will be a better place for humanity.
Rad, I'm thinking, if we were to imagine for a second that Flaconi is much smaller than it is right now, and you want to build a business that is optimized, efficient, where like you've talked about all kinds of approaches that you've been taking, maybe you can just imagine this scenario and give us a perspective also how smaller businesses and startups can be efficient, can optimize their operational efficiency, and which steps would they have to follow to be successful and scale their business?
Yes. So I mean, I would I would like to take an example, right? Whenever you build a castle, you first, focus on, foundation block, fundamentals, right? Right? Once you have a strong pillar, then you can think about all other fancy stuff and decoration, right? So if you are a startup or if you are a small business, I would strongly recommend to not even hear this buzzword of AI ML things. Dump it for now. Focus on fundamental, basic step-by-step approach. So you first focus on your supplier base, right? Focus on your basic normal demand forecasting, which you can do in Excel. You don't have to buy anything, right? And then build your supply chain, right? Build your logistic network. Build your trusted last mile delivery partner whom you can trust for better customer delivery proposition, right? So once you fix on this fundamental block, right? But once you have demand forecast, basic demand forecast, once you have a great collaboration with supplier in terms of communication, right? Build that relation. Relation will help you grow in a longer run.
Yeah.
Right? Don't think about getting some extra X or Y margin from this supplier just to
it's the long game that counts.
It's a long-term game, right? And a player will only survive in a game when you hold that stamina for long. And for you to hold that stamina for long, it's very, very important that you build that fundamental training, right? And then you start building on top of that.
That sounds fantastic. Rad, those who know me know that I love to end on a good note. So maybe let's take the chance to end on a good note today with your remarks. I really enjoyed this conversation. We managed to touch upon quite a lot of topics. We talked about supply chain management, inventory management, assortment. We talked about omni-channel and importance of tapping into data, and even we philosophized a little bit about AI. Thank you so much for your also practical tips for all of our viewers and e-commerce experts out there that of course need real life examples like you provided to be successful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this video podcast. Thanks for having me. I think we had a very candid conversation. It was a really pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the E-commerce Germany News Podcast. If you did, make sure to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and follow us on our channels. Feel free to also recommend this podcast to your contacts and friends that may want to know more about e-commerce, digital marketing, and success stories. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and see you on the next episode.